A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a groundbreaking announcement on Tuesday, UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer declared that Britain is poised to recognize the state of Palestine within weeks unless Israel takes decisive action to alleviate the appalling situation in Gaza. This statement marks a potential historic shift in UK foreign policy, particularly in the context of the ongoing humanitarian crisis that has gripped the territory. The Prime Minister convened an emergency cabinet meeting, emphasizing that the time is ripe for a change in stance concerning the long-discussed two-state solution. Starmer issued a stark ultimatum to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government, indicating that the UK could formally recognize Palestine as early as the upcoming United Nations General Assembly in September, contingent upon Israel agreeing to a ceasefire and committing to a viable two-state solution. The announcement was met with applause at the UN in New York, where Foreign Secretary David Lammy communicated the potential for this pivotal policy shift. However, the Israeli government quickly dismissed the comments, labeling them as a reward for Hamas. The Prime Minister has faced mounting pressure over the past months to take action regarding the escalating crisis in Gaza, where dire warnings about famine and starvation have emerged. A letter signed by over 250 MPs last week urged the government to recognize Palestine, reflecting a growing consensus among British lawmakers. Starmer articulated that the British public is revolted by the images of starvation coming from Gaza, advocating for a significant increase in humanitarian aid, with a target of at least 500 trucks entering the region daily. He expressed a commitment to mounting a substantial effort to facilitate the delivery of humanitarian supplies by both air and land. The Prime Minister's message to Hamas was clear. They must release all hostages, agree to a ceasefire, disarm, and accept that they will not play a role in Gaza's governance. Starmer stated that the UK would assess the situation in September, emphasizing that no party should have a veto over the UK's decision-making process. Explaining the rationale behind the policy shift, Starmer expressed concern that if Palestine was not recognized soon, there may not be a state left to recognize. He cited the deteriorating conditions in Gaza and the diminishing prospects for a two-state solution as critical factors driving this decision. The emergency virtual cabinet meeting, which took place over the weekend, was a culmination of discussions with French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. Starmer's decision reflects a delicate balancing act within his cabinet, as he navigates competing factions. Senior ministers advocating for the recognition of a Palestinian state include Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood, Energy Secretary Ed Miliband, and Foreign Secretary David Lammy. Conversely, some cabinet members, including Chancellor Rachel Reeves and Tech Secretary Peter Kyle, expressed concerns that recognition might reward Hamas. From the UN stage, Lammy underscored the UK's special burden of responsibility to support the two-state solution, condemning Israel's rejection of this framework as both morally and strategically misguided. Labour MP Sarah Champion, who spearheaded the letter from MPs advocating for recognition, described the moment as politically significant, asserting that it sends a strong message to Israel regarding the self-determination of the Palestinian people. However, the Labour Friends of Israel, LFI, cautioned that recognizing Palestine without a meaningful peace process would be merely symbolic and could undermine the UK's reputation as an impartial mediator. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch criticized Starmer's move, labeling it as political posturing that fails to address the realities on the ground. As the situation continues to unfold, the UK government's stance on Palestinian statehood is set to be a focal point of international discussions. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza, exacerbated by the ongoing conflict, has drawn attention from global leaders, including US President Donald Trump, who commented on the situation during his recent trip to Scotland. Trump acknowledged the UK's potential recognition of Palestine, stating that it was not a topic of discussion during his meeting with Starmer, but echoed concerns about rewarding Hamas. In conclusion, the UK is at a crossroads regarding its foreign policy in the Middle East. The decision to recognize Palestine hinges on Israel's actions in the coming weeks, as the international community watches closely. The outcome of this pivotal moment could reshape the landscape of Israeli-Palestinian relations and have lasting implications for peace in the region. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.